Hi, my name is Vinish Patel, and I work as a research assistant for Dr. Kochno at the Maryland Psychiatric Research Center. I'll be hosting tutorials on how to use SOLAR-Eclipse, a genetic analysis software. In this video, I'll be demonstrating how to create a pedigree file in order to make a SOLAR analysis directory. It's super simple. All you need is Excel, so let's get started. Here is a sample data set for a twin study that was conducted, for which I will create a pedigree file. As you can see, the sample data set provides you with ID numbers for the subjects, family ID numbers, ages, sex, and twin zygosity. Twin zygosity tells you if the subjects are monozygotic twins, meaning that they share 100% genetic variance, dizygotic twins, meaning that they share 50% genetic variance, or siblings, which also share 50% genetic variance. Based on all of the information provided in this data set, I'm going to now pull up a blank Excel sheet, and I'm going to start coding the pedigree. I'm just going to place this blank sheet next to the data set so that hopefully you can see everything well. Okay, so now that we have both sheets in order to code the pedigree, we need the subject IDs, which are provided in the data set right here. Typically this part is completely up to you. You should use whatever numbers you have instead of going through the trouble of coding all your subject IDs. So I'm just going to use the numbers provided in the data set. We also need to have IDs for the father and the mother. Now the exception to this rule for the parent IDs are founders. Founders are unrelated individuals who are the basis of the pedigree. So in a visual representation of a pedigree, these people would be at the very top. So usually they are the parents and the grandparent. I'll talk about this a little bit later in the video again. We also need to know the sex of the subjects. And you can label this as M and F or 1 and 2. Because it's labeled M and F in the sample data set, I'm just going to be using that. We also need the monozygotic twin label. And some additional optional variables that you can include are class, household ID, and family ID. Class is used to separate a super pedigree from several independent pedigrees. Therefore, it's usually an optional variable. Household ID is used to study environmental effects, and family ID is used to study household effects. Because the sample data set doesn't provide any information about environmental or household effects, we can delete household ID and family ID. So we're going to be concentrating on these variables right here. Okay, so let's finally start coding this kinship matrix. In the subject ID column, I can just copy and paste all of the numbers from the ID column in the data set. However, because I want to code the subjects with the letters TE in front of them, which stands for test subjects, this isn't necessary, it's just my own personal preference. I'm going to paste these numbers in the far right column here and use a formula in Excel. This might be a little bit confusing, so let me just show you what I mean. Just copy and paste this entire column right here. Okay. I'm going to copy it right here so it will match up. I want the letters TE in front of them. So I'm going to use a special formula. TE stands for test subjects. And like I said, it's not necessary, but it's my own personal preference. Use the and then click on this. So voila, we have test subject 205. Now I'm just going to drag this all the way down so all the subjects have this notation. There you go. So now that we have subject ID done, in terms of the father and mother IDs, that information is not provided in the sample data set that we have here. Sorry, let me just pull this up so that you can see things more clearly. That information is not provided. Father and mother IDs are not provided in the data set. So I'm going to have to invent the mothers and fathers based on the family IDs that are provided. So for example, for subjects 205 and 201, they come from the same family because they're twins from the same family. So they have to have the same mother and father. So their mother and father IDs will also be the same, and we can code them exactly the same. So similar to what I did before, an easy way to do this is by using a formula in Excel. So I'm going to do something similar to what I did before with this column here, but I'm going to use this family ID column. I'm just going to copy and paste this entire column of family ID numbers right here. Sorry, bear with me. There's a lot of copying and pasting involved. So now that that's done, I'm going to paste this in the far right column because I do want to code them slightly different. So how you code this is by basically, we need the letters FAID in front of the numbers here, but I'm going to use TE-FAID. TE stands for test, and then FAID for father ID. So this is what I'm going to do. An equal sign plus apostrophe TE-FAID, another apostrophe, and this. Drag this all the way down. So that the formula is in all of the cells, and you don't have to sit there and manually write each subjects. And now we do the exact same thing for the mother. So equal sign plus TEMOID apostrophe and then just paste the cell and click enter and then just drag. Okay, so now that we're done coding the IDs for the father and mother, basically we just need to copy and paste the sexes from the sample data set right here. So that's very simple. We don't need to, this was even easier. We just want to copy and paste it. Oops, okay. There we go. And now I can just copy and paste all of this. And we have the sexes. And now for monozygotic twin label, we have to sift through the labels from the sample data set because the sample data set provides you with monozygotic twins, dizygotic twins, and siblings, but we're interested in just monozygotic twins. So I think the easiest way to do this is just to copy and paste once again, and then delete the information that we don't need. So copy, Great, so Command copy, and I'm going to paste it right here. Now, as the sample data set tells us, 5 and 6 are opposite sex twins, so they're dizygotes. So I'm just going to delete 5 and 6's. Wherever there's a 5 and 6, I'm going to click delete. So, because we're only interested in monozygotic twins. Oops, okay, those are 5. So we cleared that. Another 5 right there. 3s and 1s are monozygotes, so I want to leave those. And it doesn't tell us what 2s and 4s are, so we're just going to assume they are siblings, and we're not interested in siblings. We're just interested in 1s and 3s in this column because those are the monozygotes. Okay. Delete the 5, delete the 5 and the 2s. Okay, leave the 3s. Okay, sorry this may take a while. It's slightly tedious. Okay, so 1s and 3s. Should only see 1s and 3s. Okay, so now we only have the labels for the monozygotes. Now I can't just leave 3 because that doesn't mean anything. We need to code this. So how we code the monozygotic twin label is by using family ID numbers as well, which I had copied and pasted from this column right here, right over here. So wherever there's a 1 and 3, how I would label this is by $. I'm using a formula once again. It's TEFMID and their family ID number. We do the same thing over here, except we need it for this family. So yes, it's also family 45. Okay, so let's just delete that. Let me use the formula once again. Okay, and enter. We can drag this here. So family 46. You just have to be careful when you're doing this so that you don't code it correctly. Sometimes you can make minor mistakes which can create more hassles down the line. So just be careful when you're doing this. TEFMID and family label, enter, so 51, same thing. TEFMID and so that's 52. Now we can drag this all the way down. And likewise for here. So this is, I believe it's the last set. TEFMID and right here, click enter, and then just drag. Yep, and these are all monozygotic twins. Now that we have that done, we have all the monozygotic twin labels done. The next step that we're going to do is super important because if you don't do this step, then you will get warning signs when you load the pedigree file into Solar. What we need to do, looking down this monozygotic twin label, is to make sure that each monozygotic twin set that we have has a pair. So for instance, there are 2 twins from family 45. However, there's no twin for family 46. So we're going to have to delete this particular data point. Otherwise, it's going to create warning signs when we load it into Solar. Same with 51. There isn't there should be 2 twins with family 51, but there's only 1, so we're going to delete this as well. And now just quickly, I'm just going to have to quickly sift through this data. There's 254s, 255s, 56s. Now here, 62, also there's only 1 pair. Where we don't know where the other twin went, so delete this particular data set. So this can be a little bit time consuming, but it's not hard. You just have to be very careful. Okay. Almost there. 73, 74, 75, 76. Okay, and then here 92 also doesn't have a pair, so we can delete this as well. '98, '99, and I think we're good so far. Every other twin has a pair. Okay, so we are done. I sifted through the data and each twin has a pair. So now for the class label, even though this particular variable is irrelevant for the data set that we're using, we don't have any information that's separating a super pedigree from smaller pedigrees, but for some reason we need to include this information into SOLAR because that's the only way SOLAR will work. So even though we don't have information about class, we're just going to have to write 1s all the way down this column. It's one of those peculiarities of the CSV file format that we have to save this file in. So we just have to write 1s all the way down this column. We're almost there. Okay, that is done. So now we have 1s going down the line. Lastly, now that we have all of these variables coded, we need to include founders as subjects in the pedigree with their sex. As I mentioned before, founders are unrelated individuals who are at the top of the pedigree. So in this case, for this data, founders would be the parents, so the fathers and the mothers. So we just need to include them as subjects and include their sex. So I could copy and paste each column and put it on the subject ID column, but I don't want to do that because as you can see, then I would have doubles, and I don't want doubles. I just want single parents. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to type it on the bottom. I know that there are 123 fathers and there are 123 mothers, as you can see. So what I can do right here is I can write, let's do the fathers first. So T-E-F-A-I-D, father ID, 1, and then T-E-F-A-I-D, 2, T-E-F-A-I-D, 3. Now, if I wanted to sit and write this all the way down to 123, that would take a very long time. So all I need to do, the wonderful thing about Excel is just copy this and then drag all the way down to 123. Excel recognizes that this is a series, so as you can see, it wonderfully chronologically writes them in a series. Isn't that wonderful? I was so happy to discover this. So now that we have all 123 fathers, now we need all 123 mothers. But before we do that, let's just write the sexes of the fathers, which they're all male. So now just copy and drag. Okay, so the male. And now we're going to do TEMOID, mother ID, 1. So you just need to type 2 of them, and then Excel will recognize that you're writing in a series. So I just typed 2, I copied it, and drag. It recognizes that we're writing it in a series, and then drag till 123. Okay, yay, we're done. Now we just need to write their sexes, which they are all female. So F, copy and drag. Alright, we're done. So now that that's done, we're basically ready to save this file and upload it onto Solar. But before we do that, we need to delete all these numbers here that we were using to code. Okay, so in order to delete these numbers on the far right column right here, what we need to do first is copy and paste, copy all of these numbers right here. It'll make more sense when I do it. So copy, click edit, copy, and then edit, paste special, and click the value format, and click OK. Now you can delete these. If you had done it before, then it would have ruined the numbers that you had already written here because they were referencing these numbers, so that's why we needed to do the edit and paste special. Now you can just delete all these numbers without affecting the IDs. Okay, and now that is done. Now this file is ready to be saved. So in order to save it, just save as. I'm going to save it as Pedigree. And I'm using a Mac, so I need to be careful to use the Windows comma separated value because that's the only one that works when we're using Solar. And just click Save. Click Continue, and we're done. So I'm going to minus this and now pull up Solar. And this is Solar. So right now I just want to CD into my documents directory because that's where my Pedigree file is located. And now all you need to do in order to load the Pedigree is write load pedi, write the file name, so mine was pedigree.csv, and click enter. And now it's loading and we're done. That's it. So hopefully you found this tutorial helpful. Hopefully you found it simple. I know this whole process is it's tedious and time consuming, but for the most part it is relatively easy. Thank you. Take care.